Right, hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Warren's Team Talk. I hope you're all really well today, and thanks very much for joining me. And today, what we're going to do, we're going to look at part three of 4 of my season review. I hope you're going to enjoy this. Today is where I'm going to break down all the stats as far as I see them. And we'll see what happens, and we'll see if we can answer this question. Was it statistically, was it a success, or was it simply a case of lies, damn lies, and statistics? Well, let's have a look and see what it comes up with, because I think there are some interesting conclusions to this, I have to say. And not ones that I was expecting, I have to say. So I'm sure it's going to be pretty amazing. And Aussie Gooner says, hope you're well, mate. Yeah, nice to see you, buddy. I haven't checked out that yarn that you've uploaded yet, but I will be watching it because I absolutely love your yarns, mate. They're absolutely superb. I just love them. And you've got some real talented people on the yarn with you, so it's great. It really is. And the football capital thing you did the other day, that was superb. You and the football capital and the other fella, it was spot on. All that Arsenal transfer stuff, I absolutely loved it, mate. And big up to the football capital, because he looked absolutely terrified, I have to say. Anyone who hasn't checked it out, go and check it out, because the football capital and this Aussie Gooner chap, they're like bang on the money. I'm telling you, they're really, really good. So go and check them out. And we've also got James Dunlop here. He says, afternoon, Warren. I hope you're well, mate. Yeah, I'm a good fella. Thanks very much. Nice to see you. I hope you're doing well. And you got any thoughts so far about Everton in the new season? Do you think it'd be better for you? And you're going to the new stadium, aren't you? Is it going to be ready for the start of the new season? But how are you feeling about the new season and Everton's chances and things like that? So, yeah, just quite curious to see what you think, really. Anyway, so let's get on with this. So, as the man says there, Mr. Mark Twain, there are 3 kinds of lies. Lies, damned lies, and statistics. So let's break it all down and see what happens. And Grant McRoberts has jumped in the chat and says, afternoon, Warren, I hope you're good. Yeah, I'm good, thanks, fella. I hope you're doing all right. I hope you're having a good day. So let's check this out. Right, okie doke. So what we're going to be talking about in this show that I'm doing this afternoon, this afternoon here, I'm not really sure that it's afternoon where Aussie Gooner is. It's probably 9 hours ahead, so that would be 3, 2, yes, probably about midnight. God, Jesus Christ, man. Go to sleep, Aussie Gooner. Jesus, you've got better things to do than be watching me. Anyway, so we're going to look at player performance for goalkeepers, the goal scorers, and the assist makers or creators, whatever you want to call them, goal contributions, player discipline, player ratings. Now, the player ratings, they're ratings that I got from the BBC website, which I've been recording through the course of the season. What happens with them is at the end, after every game, they will give you an average rating of all the ratings that people have gone onto the BBC website and given for the players. So for each match in the Premier League. So I've been recording those, and I've come up with individual player ratings for all the players that made appearances last season. And then I'm going to tell you what the stats, in my opinion, say is Arsenal's player of the season. So let's get on with it. So the first thing we're going to look at is the goalkeepers. So we had Bernd Leno, runner Alex Ranasson, I'm not really sure how you say his name, Arthur Okonkwo, and Aaron Ramsdale. Now, as you can see, there's only 2 goalkeepers who made any appearances out of those 4. And clearly that would have been Bernd Leno and Aaron Ramsdale. And Aaron Ramsdale made the lion's share of them. In total, Bernd Leno made 8 appearances and Aaron Ramsdale made 37. Bernd Leno had 3 clean sheets, and he had an average rating of 5.3, which meant that he had per game, he had 0.38 clean sheets per game. And Aaron Ramsdale, he made 37 appearances, had 14 clean sheets, had an average rating of 6.7, and which meant that he also had an average clean sheet of per game of 0.38, which I found quite interesting. But yeah, that's quite interesting. But for me, I personally think at the moment Aaron Ramsdale is the better keeper. I just don't think, for me, I don't think Bernd Leno is aggressive enough in managing his penalty area. He needs to be a lot more vocal and a bit more aggressive the way he handles the defence and the opposition. So James come in with a couple of chats and he's saying, I'm a bit mixed still, Warren. The takeover talk is still rumbling on. We need someone to pay the money for Richarlison to ease FFP worries. Well, I've heard there's a few teams in for him. I think us and Spurs are in for him. So I don't know whether that's going to happen or not. And then James Dunlop says, wearing Aaron Ramsdale was on his way to Arsenal. I know most of you guys were underwhelmed, not just because he's not a huge name, but the type of clubs he used to play for as well. Yeah, and it wasn't only that. I think it was the fact that we'd allowed a keeper to go who most of us thought was a better keeper than Leno. And then there we are, going out paying a lion's share of like 35 million or however much it was for another goalkeeper who'd been relegated 4 times. For me, that was what it was about. The fact that we had a goalkeeper who we let go, who was a better goalkeeper, and then we decided that the one we kept wasn't good enough, so we needed to go and buy a replacement when we had one there that was already all right and was a good goalkeeper, and we decided to let him go. And that, in a nutshell, just sums up the madness of this football club and the crazy decisions that this bunch of idiots, and they are idiots in my opinion, who are managing this club make on a consistent basis. And it's not just 1 or 2 times. If it's 1 or 2 mistakes, once a year or twice a year, you think, okay, all right, learn from your mistake, don't do it again, and move on. But it's not. It's all the bloody time. And sometimes it's often there's once a week that craziness like this is going on. It's just not acceptable. And James Dunlop says, but he's had a great season for you guys. Just need a better back four in front of him. Yeah, well, I think he's a good keeper, but I don't think we needed to do it. If we'd kept Martinez, we wouldn't have needed to waste 30 million buying another goalkeeper. We had a decent keeper there already. So why the hell did we get rid of him? I just don't understand it. I think it's absolutely crazy. I do. Martinez was clearly a better keeper than Leno, clearly, and we let him go. I just don't understand it. I really don't. I just think it's absolutely crazy. There are players, you're right though, there are players in that back four who need replacing. I think we need another centre back, but William Saliba is coming back, so let's see what happens with him. But we need at least another one as backup, because the backups we've got aren't good enough. They're not. The right back, I think Tomiyasu would be a good backup, but he's not good enough to play if you want to be challenging for a title, which is what I want. He's a good backup, but we need a better first choice right back than him. Cedric, he's all right, but he's not good enough for Arsenal. I'm sorry, he's not. Kieran, very good when he's fit, but the problem he's got is his fitness. I think he needs to go somewhere and be examined, and someone needs to get to the root cause of why it's going on, why he keeps getting injured all the time, whether it's the way he's playing. If he is the way he's playing, then he needs to be coached to learn how to get that out of his system, or if it's because of an old injury that hasn't been resolved properly, get it sorted out. And in the meantime, we'll go and get a decent backup left back, because we can't rely on him to play for the whole season. We just can't. And Taib says, good afternoon, Warren. Bless your heart, my friend. Thank you, my friend. I hope you're well. I hope you're doing good. Thank you very much for coming and joining. James says, letting Martinez go was a massive mistake. I agree. Arteta should have said to him, you are my number one at this moment in time. It's up to Leno to fight for his place. That's what should have happened. Exactly. You can see that. I can see that. So how can this clown who's being paid £8.5 million a year not see it? I just think it's absolutely crazy. And it just goes back to the same issue. The man has got no experience, and it's showing time and time again. And this is what happens when you've got someone who's got absolutely no experience and doesn't know what they're doing. It was a big mistake, and it shouldn't have been allowed to happen, in my opinion. Anyway, so let's move on. So Arsenal's number one goalkeeper for the season, in my opinion, was Aaron Ramsdale. Now, let's have a look at the leading goal scorers. Right, so let's look at the defenders first. And if we look at the Premier League, all right, the leading goal scorer in the Premier League with 5 goals and 35 starts was Gabriel Magalhaes. His goals per game ratio was 0.14. The next best to him was Rob Holden, who had a goals per game ratio of 0.1. He scored 1 goal from 9 starts and 6 substitute appearances. In the FA Cup, well, we never scored any goals, so we can't really talk about that. We only played 1 game and lost 1-0 and got knocked out to Nottingham Forest. So, yeah, that was that. The EFL Cup, now the leading goal-scoring defender was Callum Chambers. He scored 1 goal from 1 start and 2 substitute appearances, giving him a goals per game ratio of 0.44. So in total, our highest goal-scoring defender was Gabriel Magalhaes. He scored 5 goals from 37 starts and 1 substitute appearance, giving him an average goals per game ratio of 0.13. If you're working it out on goals per game, then it would be Callum Chambers, because he had 3 starts and 2 substitute appearances, and he therefore had a goals per game ratio of 0.23. Now, it's an interesting debate, really, about the stats and whether you go for goals per game or the actual number of goals scored. Because if I played 10,000 games for Arsenal and played as a centre-back and scored 20 goals, and then someone else who played 30 games scored 15 goals, who's a better goal-scoring defender? Some would argue it would be me. The other people would say it'd be the one who'd scored the 20 goals. So it's an interesting debate, but I'm not really sure what side of the fence I sit on with that one, to be honest. But it is an interesting discussion. So I've plumped for Gabriel Magalhaes. Like I say, he scored 5 goals in 37 starts and 1 substitute appearance. The midfielders, like the highest goal scoring midfielder in the Premier League was Bukayo Saka. He scored 11 goals from 36 starts and 2 substitute appearances, which gave him a goals per game ratio of 0.30. Second to him was Emil Smith-Rowe, who scored 10 goals from 21 starts and 12 substitute appearances, meaning his goals per game ratio is 0.43. Now, in order to calculate these ratios as well, what I did was to find out what time these players got brought on when they were substitutes, right? And then I took that figure for each game when they came as a substitute and worked out what proportion of a game they played. And then I added all those up and then added that to the number of starts. So if in total they played, say, 270 minutes as a substitute, as coming on as a substitute, so they came on 10 times, and in those 10 games where they came on as a substitute, they played 270 minutes. That would equate to 3 games. So I would then add that to the 3 starts and then work out the goals per game ratio based on the starts they had plus the 3 games, if that makes sense. All right. So Emil Smith-Rowe had a goals per game ratio of 0.43. FA Cup, we can't talk about it, as we've already said, because it was an unmitigated disaster. The EFL Cup, the leading goal scorer in the FA Cup, well, there was only 3 midfielders that scored in the FA Cup, which was Bukayo Saka, Emil Smith-Rowe, and Charlie Patino. Now, Bukayo Saka played 3 games and 1 as a substitute, and Emil Smith-Rowe did exactly the same. So level pegging for the 2 of them. And then we had, in total, we had Bukayo Saka. He played in total 40 games, 3 as a substitute, and scored 12 goals, giving him a goals per game ratio of 0.29. And then Emil Smith-Rowe played 24 games and 13 starts and scored 11 goals and gave him a goals per game ratio of 0.41. So it's quite a bit higher than Bukayo's goals per game ratio, really. So bearing that in mind, that is why I've given the award for Arsenal's best goal scoring midfielder to Emil Smith-Rowe. He scored 11 goals in 24 starts and 13 substitute appearances. So, yeah, congratulations to him. Now, the forwards. Now, this is where it gets interesting, and it's going to get very controversial, I'm sure. So, in the forwards, we had Lacazette, Aubameyang, Pepe, Reece Nelson, Balogun, Eddie Nketiah, and Gabriel Martinelli. Now, in the Premier League, the leading goal scorer with 5 Premier League goals from 8 starts and 13 substitute appearances with Eddie Nketiah, giving him a goals per game ratio of 0.51. Second behind him was Aubameyang. He scored 4 goals from 12 starts and 2 substitute appearances, giving him a goals per game ratio of 0.32. And then, also with 4 goals, but from 20 games and 10 substitute appearances, was Alexander Lacazette, giving him a goals per game ratio of 0.18. Then we also had Martinelli. Now, he scored 6 goals from 21 starts and 8 substitute appearances. And that gave him a goals per game ratio of 0.25. Now, the FA Cup. Again, I can't really talk about that in terms of goal scoring because we didn't score any goals. So, the EFL Cup, the leading goal scorer in the EFL Cup was Eddie Nketiah again. He scored 5 goals from 4 starts and 1 substitute appearance. So his goals per game ratio was really high. It was 1.20. And then behind him, we had, actually, if it goes by goals per game, it was Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang because he scored 3 goals in 1 start. So, yeah, that's very interesting. And then behind them two, the next highest one was Nicolas Pepe. He scored 2 goals from 3 starts and with a goals per game ratio of 0.67. And last but not least out of that bunch, Lacazette scored 2 goals from 3 starts and 2 substitute appearances. So in total, the leading goal scorer forward was Eddie Nketiah. He scored 10 goals from 13 starts and 14 substitute appearances. And he scored 0.66 goals per game. But then we also had Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. He scored 7 goals from 13 starts and 2 substitute appearances. And he had a goals per game ratio of 0.52. So, yeah, that's quite interesting, really. But let's quickly go through these chats. James says, Gabriel reminds me of Yerry Mina when it comes to attacking set pieces, just threat in the air in an attacking sense. Yeah, he is. And I really like that Yerry Mina. I think he's a really, really good defender. And I think you should try and do everything you can to hold on to him because he looks an absolute beast of a defender. He really does. Taib says, Warren, if Arsenal do get Jesus and Rafinha, then Lego Head has to prioritise consistency. Yeah, and coaching properly. It would be quite nice. Jez says, afternoon, legends. Hi, Jez. How you doing, mate? Nice to see you. And Jez, I just want to thank you for your contribution last night in my show about the Bermuda Triangle. That stuff you told us all about the methane gas was really, really helpful, and I really appreciated it. So thank you very, very much. And James says, I rate Smith Rowe. Yeah, I do too. I think he's a good player. And if he had proper coaching, I think he'd be much better than what he is at the moment. I still think I'm not sure. I'm not convinced he's being coached properly. I'm really not. Type says hi, Jez, and James does the same, saying hello to Jez. And James says the amount of stars Pepe has had in the league last season is mad. Only 5 starts. He needs to leave in the summer. Yeah, he does, and it's criminal the way that guy's been treated. Absolutely criminal. Jez says, Taib, hi, mate. And Taib said, oh, here we go. I had a dream that I reincarnated into a cat and jumped into a cabinet and started sniffing around, and I couldn't smell any trophies. So I gathered it was Spurs' empty trophy cabinet. Laughed out loud. Yeah, exactly, mate. 100%. Oh, Ty, mate, you're on top form. I love it. James Dunlop, afternoon, mate. Yeah, quality. Right. Okie doke. So, yeah, so that's the forwards. And Arsenal's leading top goal scoring forward, according to that, with 10 goals in 13 starts and 14 substitute appearances, is Eddie Nketiah. I'm not going to go into the whole debate about him getting the number 14 shirt and whether he deserves to be at Arsenal or not, because I don't think he does. Personally, if it was down to me, I would have tried to sell him. If not, send him out on loan, because I don't think he's ready to lead the line at Arsenal. He might be in a few years, who knows, but he's certainly not at the moment. He needs to add quite a lot to his game, I would say. But those statistics are quite interesting for me, to be quite honest. Anyway, so let's have a look at the assists. Let's start off with the defenders. So in the Premier League, our number 1 assister was Kieran Tierney. He did 3 assists from 22 starts, giving him an assist ratio of 0.14. And yeah, he was best assister by a bit of a way, really. FA Cup, yeah, well, let's just not talk about that. There's nothing there worth saying. And the EFL Cup, the best assister was Cedric Suarez. He got 2 assists from 4 starts, which gave him an assist rate of 0.5 assists per game. And then in total, the best assister was Cedric Suarez, because he got 3 assists from 21 starts and 5 substitute appearances, meaning he had an assist rate of 0.13. Kieran Tierney was second. He had 3 assists from 24 starts and 1 substitute appearance, meaning he had an assist rate of 0.12. So, yeah, that's quite interesting. So there he is, the man himself. 3 assists in 21 starts and 5 substitute appearances. Well, none of these players for me are good enough, to be quite frank. But there you go. If you got one shit in the toilet that don't stink, and then a load that do, the one that don't stink is probably the best one, isn't it? So I don't know. Sorry about the crude comparison, but there you go. Then the midfielders. Right. So the best assisting midfielder in the Premier League was Bukayo Saka. He got 7 assists from 36 starts and 2 substitute appearances, meaning he had an assist record of 0.19. assists per game. And for those who didn't hear me say this earlier, what I did, right, when I was working this out, it took me a long time, because what I did, I looked back to see when all these players came onto the pitch when they were substitutes, and how many games that had happened with, how many games they'd come on as a substitute, what time they came on, and then I worked out how many minutes they played as a substitute. And then when I worked that out, I worked out how many games that equated to. So if they'd ended up playing, say, I don't know, 270 minutes as a substitute, that would have equated to 3 games. So I would have then added that to the starts. Say in Bukayo Saka's case, he came on for at half time in both those games where he was a substitute. That would have given him 1 extra game. So I've added it to the number of starts, would have been 36. Then I would have divided the number of goals he scored or the assists he made by 37 to give me his assist per game record. I know it sounds a bit convoluted and difficult, but I thought it was the fairest way to do it, to work out who was the best assister, because clearly I couldn't just add the number of substitute appearances to the starts, because they wouldn't have been on the pitch for the full 90 minutes. So that's what I decided to do. Just thought you might be interested to know how I worked it out. So that's how I did it. The FA Cup, again, let's not even bother with that. Then the EFL Cup, the best assister was Ainsley Maitland-Niles. He made 1 assist and 2 starts and 1 substitute appearance, which gave him an assist rate of 0.43. And also there was Martin Odegaard. He made 1 assist from 3 starts, 0.33 assists per game. And then in total, it meant the best assister by quite some way was Bukayo Saka, because he had, well, no, actually it wasn't. The best, well, it depends which way you do it. Bukayo Saka got 7 assists from 40 starts and 3 substitute appearances, which gives an assist rate of 0.17 assists per game. And then we also had Ainsley. He had an assist rate of 0.20 because he had 1 assist from 4 starts and 6 substitute appearances. And then we also had Mohamed El-Neni, who had 2 assists from 11 starts and 6 substitute appearances, meaning he had an assist rate of 0.17. So it's quite interesting, because I wasn't expecting to see Mohamed El-Neni with that sort of rate, you know, but he did. So fair play to him. So according to this, the best assister was Martin Odegaard. He had 5 assists, 36 starts and 4 substitute appearances. And then the forwards. Let's have a look at the assists for the forwards. And the forwards, the best assister in the Premier League was Lacazette. He had 7 assists from 20 starts and 10 substitute appearances, and gave him an assist per game ratio of 0.32. And then second in the list behind him was Nicolas Pepe. Despite his lack of game time, he managed to get 2 assists from 5 starts and 15 substitute appearances, meaning he had an assist rate of 0.25. The FA Cup, again, it's not worth mentioning it because we had one game and scored no goals. The EFL Cup, the best assister there was Nicola Pepe. He's made 4 assists from 3 starts, giving him an assist rate of 1.33. Second was Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, 1 assist from 1 start. And yeah, so in total, who was the best assister? Yeah, here we go. The best assister statistically was Nicola Pepe. He had 6 assists from 18 starts and 15 substitute appearances, giving him an assist rate of 0.55. Second was Lacazette. He had 8 assists from 23 starts and 3 substitute appearances, which was an assist rate of 0.31. So, again, it gave up some interesting answers for me, to be honest. So James says, Warren, 100% Warren, if Nketiah is going to improve, it needs to be somewhere else other than Arsenal. But we'll wait and see what happens this upcoming season. 100%, mate. He has to. He can't be learning his job at Arsenal, but there seems to be a lot of that going on at Arsenal at the moment. People being allowed to learn learn their trade by doing the job, by learning on the job. I just think it's ridiculous. Ty says, how many goal target would you give Nketiah, seeing as though his 200k a week contract is rather ridiculous? I want him to score at least 25 goals in all competitions. Simple. As simple as that. He has to. If he's going to be commanding that sort of salary, he has to be scoring 25 goals across all competitions, minimum. James says, I still find it mad that Cedric is still at Arsenal. Fella couldn't get a game at Southampton before. I know, he couldn't get a start at Southampton, and then he comes to us. I just don't get it. I mean, honestly, I don't. Honestly don't. I just think it's absolutely crazy. But there you go. That's just another example of the madness that this club gets up to. James says that's something Odegaard has to improve on, not just adding more goals, but more assists. Yeah, 100%. I personally, I don't really rate him. I really don't. I don't think he's that good. I don't think he's of a sufficient quality to make an impact on the game. I just don't think he is. And I remember someone telling me once that he was better than Zidane. What are you talking about? Better than Zidane? Dear God. Taib says, Warren, I find it hard to get my head around how Fard's brain works. I don't know why he has peanuts in his head, laugh out loud. Mate, I've got a theory about that fella. I'm not convinced that he's being completely honest about what's going on with him, to be quite frank. So yeah, I think there's something a bit off there. Because it don't make any sense to me. And James says, whoever said that must have been on the Warren. Yeah, exactly. That's my point. It's just crazy. How can you sit there and make a comment like that and be serious. It's just crazy. These people, honestly, they're either completely detached from reality, or there's something other going on that we don't know about, because it does not make any bloody sense. Sedan's better than Odegaard's better than Sedan. Do me a bloody favour, please. Right. Anyway, so the top assister for Arsenal in the season that's just finished was Nicola Pepe. He had 6 assists and 8 starts and 15 substitute appearances. How this man didn't get more starts from me. I would have started him every week. It would have been one of the first names on the bloody team sheet, because he is quality. He really is, and he's just been criminally underused. And I think the reason is because he was brought into the club by Unai Emery. And since he's been here, this clown of a manager that we've got has outed almost every single player that was brought to the club by any of his predecessors. It's just unbelievable. The man, there's something seriously not right with this manager. He needs to be examined. I'm sorry, but he does. I know that's an awful thing to say, but it's true. His behaviour is really bizarre. It's just ridiculous. I think the only one that he hasn't outed is Kieran Tierney. But I don't know. I just find it bizarre. So the leading goal contributors, let's have a look at that. Now, what I mean by goal contributions is I take the assists and add them to the goals scored, and we'll see how we go, right? So the defender with the most goal contributions was Gabriel Magalhaes. He had 5 from 35 starts, giving him a goal contribution rate of 0.14. Kieran Tierney was second with 4 from 22 starts, with a goal per game, goal contribution rate of 0.18. And the FA Cup, we won't talk about that. AFL Cup, the number 1 goal contributor there was Cedric Suarez, 0.5 goal contributions. He had 2 goal contributions from 4 starts. And then in total, the defender with the best overall rate was Gabriel Magalhaes, 5 goals contributions from 37 starts and 1 substitute appearance. And then behind him, we had Cedric Suarez. He had 4 goal contributions from 21 starts and 5 substitute appearances, which gave him a rate of 0.18. And then we had Kieran Tierney, 0.16, 4 goal contributions from 24 starts and 1 substitute appearance. So there you have it. That doesn't make sense. Surely, yeah, that's wrong. It should have been Gabriel Magalhaes, but there you go. Well, no, sorry, I'm wrong. Yeah, it was Cedric Suarez, because his rate was 0.18, and which was higher than Magalhaes'. So, yeah, congratulations to him. The midfielders, the midfielder in the Premier League with the most goal contributions was Bukayo Saka. He had 18 goal contributions from 36 starts and 2 substitute appearances, meaning it gave him goal contributions rate of 0.49. And Emil Smith-Rowe also was in the running. He had 12 goal contributions from 21 starts and 12 substitute appearances, giving him a rate of 0.51, which was higher than Bakayu's rate. And then we also had Martin Odegaard. He had 11 goal contributions from 32 starts and 4 substitute appearances, meaning he had a rate of 0.33. FA Cup, we won't talk about that. The League Cup, the League Cup, Charlie Patino scored 1 goal whilst playing as a substitute. So he had a goals per game contribution of 9.09. So, but can't really take that. That's just a bit crazy. Other than that, the best one was Ainsley, because he had 1 goal contribution from 2 starts and 1 substitute appearance, giving him a rate of 0.43. And then there was a few with 1 from a handful of games. And then so in total, it meant that and I'm not going to include Charlie Patino because it's just not fair. He scored 1 goal from 1 appearance, 1 start and 1 substitute appearance. And then we had Emil Smith-Rowe and Bukayo Saka battling it out. Bukayo Saka had a rate of 0.47, 19 goal contributions from 40 starts and 3 substitute appearances. And Emil Smith-Rowe, he had 13 goal contributions from 24 starts and 13 substitute appearances, which meant he slightly edged out Bukayo by 0.02. So there you go. So let's go through some of these chats. And Taib says, "One, do you think Pepe should have more opportunities but playing up front?" No, I'd play him out wide right. I think he's just, the tactics do not suit him. They're just boring, negative, defensive tactics. And this manager, I'm sorry, and he's not coaching people properly. I just think he doesn't know how to get the best out of players. I really don't. If it was me, I would be looking at coaching him, giving him proper coaching, and I think he can play on the right or the left or as a number 10. I don't know about up front as the main striker. I really don't. But certainly one of those 3 positions across the front line, not the front line, sorry, the right, the left, or the number 10, I think he could do very easily. Jeff P. Hello, Jeff. I hope you're well. Thanks very much for coming in. Nice to see you. He says, if you look at the way he speaks in press conferences, I think it reveals a lot. He will communicate in exactly the same way as players, which is why none of them know what he's going on about. Exactly. And I'm going to tell you a story. I don't think you've been in my chat before, Jeff. You may have been. If you have, I'm sorry. But a friend of mine, she went to see Arsenal play Wimbledon in the League Cup. And Ainsley Maitland-Niles, she was sat near the bench, and Ainsley Maitland-Niles was running down the pitch, and he had a bit of a confrontation with Arteta because Ainsley just turned around to him and said, "Look, what is it you want me to do? What? Like this. And Arteta was slinging his arms around and shouting and screaming, and it just got really, really embarrassing. And people apparently were sitting there embarrassed, and because of like he was confusing players. And this isn't the first instant either that I've heard with players being confused by him. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. If he can't communicate properly, it's a key part of the job. And that's why I'm not convinced by him. I just think every single level of the job that he's got, he doesn't seem to be able to fulfill it to a sufficiently high enough standard to make an impact on this team and to push the team forward and make us competitive. I just don't. James says, I'd have Pepe at Everton with Townsend out injured. We could do someone on the right, but Tottenham will want to offload both Winks and Lucas Moura to get Richarlison off us. Mate, if you had Pepe at Everton with a decent coach, he would absolutely rip it up for you. He would. He's a brilliant player. Absolutely brilliant. The problem is, he's probably Arteta is jealous of him, and he doesn't know how to coach him, and the thing is as well, he's a bit of a maverick. So I just don't think he knows how to handle him. I really don't. I just think Arteta's clueless. I do. I'm sorry if anyone's upset by that, but I do. I just don't think he knows what he's doing. And Jeff says, I would not be surprised if Nketiah leaves on the free transfer when the contract he just signed ends. No, neither do I, mate. It probably, like, sit his contract out, let it run down, and, do what Aubameyang has done. I'm sure it's all going to go really badly wrong. I really am, because this guy, Arteta, he can't manage people properly. And Taib says, James, how many goals do you reckon Pepe is capable of if he's a regular starter? Well, it's in it. Right, let me answer that question for you. All right, I'm going to work it out. Right, just on the basis of what he did this season. Right, so let's go here. I'm just going to have a look. Right, so in all competitions, he scored 3 goals from 8 starts and 15 substitute appearances, right? Which gave him overall goals per game ratio of 0.28, right? So if you translate that to a Premier League season, right, that would be... So if you said, right, let's just say 8 starts, 3 goals from 8 starts. So let's do 3 divided by 8, and then multiply that by 38. That would give you about 14 goals, right? Just in the Premier League. That's not counting FA Cups, League Cups, or Europa League, or anything like that. All right. So Jeff says, I wonder what excuses fans will come out with for Arteta if Pepe smashes it at his next club. Probably that he wasn't interested in doing it for Arteta. and Arteta gave him loads of opportunities. God knows, mate, to be quite honest. I reckon Pepe would get 15, 20 goals. There you go, see? And that calculation I did sort of backs that up. I think he's more than capable of getting that sort of level. And Joanne Smith's in the chat. Hi, Joanne. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming in. She goes, hello, stranger. Hi. Hope you're well. James Dunlop, I'm not sure, Ty. Probably around 10. I think he'd get more than that, James. Definitely. And Ty, Joanne, hello. Long time no see. Ty, sorry, James says, hi, Joanne. And seriously, how is Mohamed El Neni still an Arsenal player? Well, yeah, good question. Jeff says, hi, Warren. Hi, mate. Nice to see you. Taib says, El Neni would have been a decent signing for a team like Cardiff City, but he's playing for the Arsenal. Laugh out loud. Well, yeah. But I'll tell you something. Right, I'll tell you this right now. I'd certainly have him in the team over bloody Granit Xhaka, that's for sure. Absolutely no question. That's probably why Maitland-Niles went to Roma. Yeah, he went to Roma because he confronted Arteta. He doesn't like being confronted. That's the problem. So there you go. That's my opinion about it. So, the best midfielder with the most goal contributions was Emile Smith-Rowe. He got 13 goal contributions in 24 starts and 13 substitute appearances. So, congratulations to him. And then let's look at the forwards. And in the Premier League, the most goal contributions came from Gabriel Martinelli. He got 12 goal contributions from 21 starts and 8 substitute appearances, giving him a goal contribution rate of 0.53. And then we also had Eddie Nketiah, who had 6 goal contributions from 8 starts and 13 substitute appearances, giving him a rate of 0.61. And then we also had Alexander Lacazette, who had 11 from 20 starts and 10 substitute appearances, giving him a rate of 0.5. So, FA Cup, we can't really talk about that because there wasn't any goals. The EFL Cup, we had Eddie Nketiah at a goal contribution rate of 1.2. He had 5 goal contributions from 4 starts and 1 substitute appearance. Then we had Nicola Pepe. He had 6 goal contributions from 3 starts, which gave him a goal contribution of 2. And then we had Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who had 4 goal contributions from 1 start. So he had a rate of 4. So very interesting. Very, very interesting. If Arteta was here, he'd be banging his head on our desk, I'm sure. So the leading, according to that, the leading goal contributor in the forwards was Eddie Nketiah. He had 11 goal contributions and 13 starts and 14 substitute appearances in total, which was 0.73. Just behind him with a goal contribution rate of 0.55 was Alex Lacazette. He had 14 goal contributions from 23 starts and 3 substitute appearances, giving him a goal contribution rate of 0.55. And also we had Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. He had 9 goal contributions from 13 starts and 2 substitute appearances, giving him a rate of 0.67. And then we had Nicolas Pepe as well. He had 9 goal contributions from 8 starts and 15 substitute appearances, giving him a goal contribution rate of 0.83. So all of that means that Nicolas Pepe was the forward with the most goal contributions. He had 9 goal contributions in 8 starts and 15 substitute appearances. So the disciplinary stats, and Gabriel Magalhaes, of all the defenders, had the most yellow cards, and he had 7 from he had 7 yellow cards and 1 yellow card and red card, and no straight red cards. And the next highest was Cedric Suarez. He had 4 yellow cards, and in fact Gabriel Magalhaes was the only. No, there was one other. Rob Holden also got a yellow and red card. Other than that, they were the only 2 who saw red. But Cedric Suarez had the most bookings behind Gabriel Magalhaes. The midfielders, the third highest was Thomas Partey, with 5 yellow cards and 1 yellow and red card. And the second highest with 6 yellow cards was Bukayo Saka. And then the midfielder with the worst discipline was Granit Xhaka. He had 10 yellow cards and 2 red cards. No surprises there really for me. And then Arsenal's forwards, the tie for first place between Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Eddie Nketiah. They both got 3 yellow cards. In second place, it was Gabriel Martinelli. He had 2 yellow cards and 1 red and yellow card. So the guy with the worst discipline, no surprises here. I think everyone would have predicted this. 10 yellow cards and 2 red cards, Granit Xhaka. When is this guy going to wake up and realise that this man isn't competent to be playing at Arsenal? Look here, right? He's got that fella round the throat and being really aggressive, right? You can see Aubameyang looking on thinking, what the f*** is he doing? Lacazette's going in as well. Saka's looking on thinking, what the hell's going on? The Burnley players are also looking, thinking, what the hell's going on? The guy's an absolute embarrassment. He gives the crowd the finger and tells us that we need to jog on. How is this not worse than what Guendouzi did? And yet this guy is allowed to do stuff like this over and over and over and over again. Also, don't let me forget to remind you, that idiot is also the subject of an investigation regarding his involvement in an illegal betting syndicate. All right? So, it's just absolutely crazy. Guendouzi gets stuck into an opposition player, grabs him round the throat. Yeah, okay, he shouldn't have grabbed the fella round the throat. But all he was doing was trying to defend his teammate. And that was it. And then he gets bounced out of the club. I just think it's absolutely disgusting. Disgusting. James says Granit Xhaka is like the midfield version of Kevin Davies. He used to be a Bolton, always has a foul in him. Yeah, it's some big fella that used to play it for Everton up front, Big Duncan. Jesus Christ, he was a bit physical when he wanted to be as well, but he was at least he had a bit of quality about him, not like this clown. James says Xhaka is better off back abroad. I've been saying it for ages. The Premier League is not his league at all, mate. He'd be better off working the doors at a nightclub than being a professional footballer. Honestly, I wouldn't get if I was a manager of a championship side. I wouldn't want him. I just think he's a liability. Jeff P says Granit Xhaka is just not good enough, and he's the most arrogant player I've seen at Arsenal. He's clearly a yes man for Arteta, and that's probably why he keeps picking him. Yeah, probably. And I've been supporting the club since 1973, and I'm struggling to think of a worse midfield player that we've had at this club than him. The way he just makes stupid mistakes that leads to goals. The way that he continually gets embroiled with nonsense on the pitch, his discipline, he's an absolute nightmare. I think the lack of discipline at Arsenal shows that Arteta is not capable of asserting his authority. Well, to be honest, I don't blame them. I don't blame the players because they're probably sitting there thinking, who the fuck are you? What did you do in your fucking career? Do you know what I mean? It's like when Roy Hodgson was at Liverpool, right? The stories I've heard that have come out of that club about the disrespect that he suffered, and it was all because he had no playing career. And it's the same with this clown. He's got no fucking history. I mean, what has he actually achieved as a player? I think he won a title at Rangers, right? And that was about it. James, correct me if I'm wrong, but he wasn't that great at Everton either. When you consider some of the great midfield players you've had down the years, especially when I was a young fella in the late 80s, you had Kevin Sheedy and Peter Reid and fucking all the other guys in that team. It was Trevor Steven. Do you know what I mean? And then you got this joker. Honestly, he's not fit to lace their boots. He's not. And Jez comes in with a chat saying Xhaka is just an embarrassment. He is, Jez, 100%, mate. I completely agree with you. He is, and the sooner he gets bounced out of the club, the better. So the player ratings. Now, these player ratings are not my player ratings, all right? They're the player ratings that I've been collecting up from the BBC website throughout the course of the season. And so here we go. So the best goalkeeper and defender was Kieran Tierney. He had a rate of 6.88. The best goalkeeper was Aaron Ramsdale. Got a rating of 6.7. These are all averages based on the ratings that these players got when they played over the course of the whole season. And like I say, they're not my ratings. They're the ratings I took from the BBC website. The worst defender was Callum Chambers, interestingly. He got a rating of 2.69. And then the next worst was Pablo Mari with 3.10. And then it was Sead Kolasinac with 4.38. So, there you go. Midfielders. The worst midfielder with a rating of 5.23 was Ainsley Maitland-Niles. And the best midfielder was Bukayo Saka with a rating of 6.61. And the best forward with a rating of 6.25 was Gabriel Martinelli, which means that overall, the best defender was Kieran Tierney. He had a rating of 6.88. The best midfielder was Bukayo Saka with a rating of 6.61. And the number one forward was Gabriel Martinelli with a rating of 6.25. So the player of the season, according to this, was Kieran Tierney. So congratulations to him. But once again, I have to say, Mark Twain, in my opinion, is right. There are three kinds of lies: lies, damn lies, and statistics. And I remember Winston Churchill once quoted that as well. So there you go. Let's quickly get into these chats. Hey, Warren says static. Nice to see you, man. I hope you're doing all right. Grant McRoberts, like, he was good for us, but he ain't a legend. He was just an average player playing with ballers like Ferguson. Which, you know, are you talking about Duncan Ferguson or Ian Ferguson? Because I wouldn't describe Ian Ferguson as a baller, mate. I'm sorry, but I wouldn't. I would be more tempted to call him a silent assassin. I think would be more accurate. Jesus Christ, he was a nutter. But Duncan Ferguson wasn't much. Could certainly handle himself as well. He said he can't even get picked for Rangers Legends matches. Well, there you go. That says it all. Mind you think the midfielders that you had, you got Gaza and Laudrup, and well, mind you, Laudrup was more of a forward though, wasn't he, when he was playing for you lot? So yeah, and Barry Ferguson was 10 times the player that Arteta was. James Dunlop, he was better at Everton during his playing days, but at Arsenal, he wasn't an improvement to your midfield at the time. No, he wasn't. It was a backward step because he came in, I believe, to replace Fabregas. I remember Wenger turning around and saying we didn't need him. We didn't need Fabregas when he wanted to come back because we had Arteta. Jesus Christ. Fucking hell. Didn't need him. Jesus. Are you... He must have been on drugs. I'm sorry. He must have been. And Static says, oh no, Odegaard he's not better than Saka. No, exactly. So, yeah, anyone who came in like those stats, right, those ratings, those player ratings are not my player ratings, all right? I took them from the BBC website and I've been collating them all throughout the course of the season, and then I took an average of them all. And that's what it was. And I'm going to be doing it again this season, then periodically during the season, I'm going to give you an update on who the leading contenders are in each area of the pitch. Ryan, did Saka and Ramsdale or Tierney deserve Player of the Season? The votes organised by Arsenal were rigged. Well, if you look at my play rate, not my play ratings, the play ratings that were voted for on the BBC website, right? Those votes, those ratings are what people put in throughout the course of the season on the BBC website for each game that gets played, right? And if you look at that, Kieran Tierney won it. So, yeah, that tells you all you need to know, because those ratings are from anyone who has access to the BBC Sport website. So, you know, the people have spoken and they said Kieran. And personally, I think he's got a shout. Myself, I've given it to Pepe. Just give Arteta one in the eye. I really would. Ron, good man. Good show, says Static. Thank you, my man. Barry Ferguson at Rangers. That's what I meant. Oh, okay, mate. I thought you were talking about Ian Ferguson. I was going, no. No, Barry Ferguson, absolutely fantastic player for Rangers. And I remember when we battered you 3-0 in that Old Firm game. He was on Go Radio. I don't know if you get that. And then they've got a YouTube channel, and they spoke to him after the game, and he was absolutely fuming. Barry Ferguson, right? Fuming with the players. And they said something to him about the players hurting after that result and whatnot. And they said, do you think they would be hurting after that performance and that defeat? And he just leant forward in his seat, and you could see the anger in his face. And he goes, they bloody better be. They better be. Jesus. Oh, dear. The passion. That's what I like. I like to see that passion. James says, from 2006 to 2010, he was technically our best player in terms of quality, but he had good players around him like Cahill, Pienaar, Baines and others, despite we hardly had any money. Yeah, well, that's true. Static says, Warren, Arsenal should be watching this. You do this properly. Thank you, my friend. If they want to come and if they want to ask me for it, I will gladly give them the stats, because I've got all the stats sitting on spreadsheets. If they want them, they can have them. But I don't trust that they do anything with it. I just think they manipulate it to suit their agenda. I really do. Grant Roberts said, yeah, I saw that co-radio. And you don't get players like Barry Ferguson. No, you don't. And, you know, that passion, I absolutely loved it. I did think it was funny. But I understand him, because if we got bloody done like that, I would have been exactly the same. I remember Barry Ferguson, loved him playing the Scotland national side, proper player with the right mental attitude. He did have the right mental attitude. I couldn't stand the fella, but he had the right attitude. And the fact I didn't like him tells you that he was a great player. Because if he'd been shit, then he wouldn't have bothered me. But I'm not going to go into all the rest of it, all the other nonsense. But he was a proper player. Jeff P says, I bet Everton fans don't want Arteta to go back as manager. God, fuck. No, I wouldn't wish that on any club. I wouldn't. And, you know, I've often said that he should go down and lower league football and learn his trade. Listen, if I was a chairman of a League One side or a League Two side or any side in the National League, I wouldn't want him. I wouldn't, because I just think he'd piss people off. Particularly at that level as well, where, you know, they'd be just going, what the fuck are you talking about, you prick? Do you know what I mean? It'd just annoy people. I wouldn't have him as manager, Jeff, not after what I've seen with what's gone on at Arsenal. Realistically, Everton wouldn't have been the job for him to go back to realistically, Everton would have been the job for him to go back to in 2019. Mate, you're lucky. Let me tell you this here and now. If he got that job in 2019, when both of us were in for Ancelotti and him, If he'd gone to Everton, I reckon by now you would have been relegated, 100%, because he would have pissed all the players off. He would have caused a massive division in the fan base, and the lucky thing is, we were in a lot stronger position when he came to the club than what you lot are. And when Don Carlo went there, he did really well. I'm sorry, I just don't buy this thing about that he didn't do it at Everton. He did really good job at Everton, I think, with the materials he had to work with. So, yeah, I just think it was... if he'd gone to Everton, I think by now you would have gone down. Definitely, 100%. But how can anyone turn down a big job like Arsenal? And the money. That's the thing. The money was being offered as well. And you would have been crazy. I mean, any of us in the chat, if we were offered a job where we were going to be paid that amount of money, you're going to take it. You wouldn't be stupid enough to turn it down. No one would. Jeff said, I don't think Arteta is capable of succeeding at any level. I don't, because he is just going to upset people when he gets through, when he starts on all this arrogant bullshit that he does and not listening and not learning from his mistakes. Because he's not learning from his mistakes. I don't mind people making mistakes. Anyone can make a mistake. Anyone. But when you make a mistake, the thing is that you learn from it. You think, yeah, I'm not doing that again because look what happened when I did it before. This time I'm going to do it this way or I'm going to do that. But not him, no. It's never his fault. Jeff says, 100% agree. I 100% agree. Everton, Arteta would have relegated Everton. I think so. Definitely. I'm sorry to say that, James. I really am, mate. But I think he would have done. If Ancelotti didn't have an incompetent board like we have got, then we might have gotten close to a European place. I think he would have done. Definitely. Definitely. The man is an absolute genius. Honestly, I think he look, anywhere he's gone where he's had proper backing, he's delivered. I mean, you know, he goes into Real Madrid and he gets them to European Cup final when he wins it. No one's had more European Champions League wins than him. It's just unbelievable. And then we've got Bargav. Bargav's in and he says, hey, Ron, I hope you're having a good Saturday. Yeah, man, I'm good, thanks. Right, guys, I think that's... Yeah, so there you go. So the big question is, Arsenal season statistically, was it a success? Or was it simply, as Mark Twain said, a case of lies, damn lies, and statistics? I'll let you have a think about that. If you're watching on playback, don't please put a comment in the comments box telling me what you think, whether it was lies, damn lies, and statistics, or do you think it was statistically a success? I'll be interested to hear what you've got to say, and any of your comments about all of the topics that we've talked about today. I'd really like to hear about that. So, yeah, thanks very much for watching, guys. I hope you've really enjoyed it. And James says, I don't blame him going back to Real Madrid because who in their right mind wants to stay at Everton? Look at Richarlison. He does love the club, but he wants better, and I don't blame him. I understand what you're saying, James, but I think that Everton is a massive club. Don't undersell your club. Don't. It is a huge, huge club. I remember back in the day, in the 80s, you challenging for titles, going to cup finals, going to finals in European competition. And if it hadn't have been for the Heysel disaster, I guarantee you would have won the European Cup. 100%. You would have won the European Cup without any shadow of a doubt with that team you had then. 100%. You would have done. And with the right backing, the right board, I'd say you'd be challenging again. I really believe that, firmly believe it, because you've got the fan base, you've got if the club was set up properly and it was run properly, I guarantee that you'd get back up there. I 100% believe that. I really do. Calvert-Lewin played so much better when Ancelotti was manager. Yeah, because he knew what he was doing. Yeah, do stats even matter when games were boring and we finished on the same amount of losses? 100%, mate. But I find it interesting to look at because it does highlight a few things. Do you know what I mean? But it's not the be-all and end-all. It's just a little tool in the toolbox, you know? So I know that, Ron, but I'm speaking on the facts we've been doing in recent times since the owner came in and wasted nearly £1 billion. Yeah, 100%, mate. That's why you need to get him out and get a proper owner in who is going to do things properly. And it's not just about spending money. Kroenke has proven that. He spent more money than any other chairman in the Premier League. But look, the mess we're still in. It's to do with having the right attitude and taking an interest in what's going on at the club and making sure the club is run properly and that people are held to account. And this is the problem at Arsenal. We've got an owner who doesn't give a shit. He doesn't demand success. He doesn't take an active interest in what's going on. And he doesn't hold people to account. He just lets them get on with it. And that's the problem. And Jez says, Everton are a decent club and deserve better. Such history should never be forgotten. 100%, mate. Jez, you're 100% right, mate. Kroenke is the mildest of the US owners still, says Bargav. He's a massive issue, right? Don't underestimate how much of a problem that man is, because he is. And we need to get him out. Because I personally don't think this club is going to move forward until we get him out. All right? All the time, he's sitting there, not taking an active interest and holding people to account, then people are just going to get away with it. You ever heard I don't know where you're from, but when I was a kid growing up in the UK, we used to have this expression and it went, while the cat's away, the mice will play. And this is this in a nutshell. The cat is away, so the mice are having a field day. That's what it is. And indeed, Warren, it's about operating in the right way, like what Liverpool have done, as much as it pains me and other Evertonians. Yeah, 100%, mate. And it pains me as well because you were a fantastic side and you played some brilliant football in the 80s, and you gave Liverpool a bloody good run for their money, let me tell you. I think the whole Project Youth Club was designed when they didn't win. I realised that Arteta would never be successful because of the way he behaves. They probably can't believe the fans bought it. I think the whole thing was set. You're right. I think the whole thing was designed and thought of so that they could keep him in a job. It's like on the never, never. Oh, yeah, tomorrow. When tomorrow never comes. That's the thing. And that's what they're doing. Anyway, guys, I'm going to have to finish it there because Mr. Collins is going live in about half an hour or so. And I want to be settled for that. I want to be ready because I don't want to miss it because it's going to be wild. So thanks very much for watching, everyone. I really, really enjoyed the chat. And thanks very much for joining in. Diego C. Palace this afternoon all. Thanks for joining me. I'm just about to go. Sorry, fella. And cheers, Ron. Take care, mate. See you soon. And you, fella. Thanks, everyone, for joining in. I'll be doing part 4, which will be the last part of this epic saga. Probably Monday or Tuesday. I'm not sure yet. Anyway, guys, take care. Thanks very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Please don't forget to go and check out Jez Collins' channel, Arsenal, the History and More, in about half an hour. He's going to be doing a show, I think it's with Kenny Ken and Lee Gunner. So it's going to be wild. It really is. So I'm really looking forward to that. Take care, everyone. Look after yourselves and your family and friends, and keep talking. And remember to show some love and kindness around the world. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye for now.